right, weather for Weather Geeks time on this Thursday evening. We're about halfway through September. It's been a little bit of an up and down month so far. Temperatures were certainly down this morning. We had a real chill in the air this morning. We'll have it again tomorrow morning and Saturday morning. At the airport, we dropped to 44 this morning. I had 43 at my place, and some backyard thermometers could read 41 or 42 at the start of the day on Friday. This 44-degree reading at the airport, our coolest temperature since June the 8th, and roughly 13 weeks ago. We had temperatures that cool. The record low, that's out of reach. 36 was the record on today's date back in 1985. High temperatures so far this month, again, a little bit up and down. We flirted with 90 a few times last week, closer to 70 over the last few days, and we'll be in this similar neighborhood for tomorrow before a warm-up for the start of the weekend. It's been a dry start to September after a pretty waterlogged August across most of our region. Rainfall has definitely been a little more sparse so far this September, and I expect this general trend to continue for at least another week to 10 days. So only about a quarter of an inch so far at the airport, and I doubt we'll see much more than a quarter of an inch on Sunday. So we might get through the first 3+ weeks of the month with well under 1 inch worth of rain officially at the airport. Much like yesterday morning, we had some patchy fog early. It was patchier than yesterday. It was pretty much confined to the river valleys this morning, such as the Mahoning River Valley around Youngstown. But the fog lifted, and we had a mix of sun and clouds for a lot of the day today, kind of a fair weather cumulus cloud field across our area, popcorn cumulus, if you will. Good looking afternoon for today. Things are pretty quiet, not only here locally, but it's a ho-hum evening in most of the eastern U.S. Right on the edge of the screen, of course, we have the clouds from Hurricane Lee advancing off to the north. We'll talk about Lee in just a second. But tonight, pretty much ideal radiational cooling conditions, but also ideal conditions for looking up and seeing what's in the sky. No moon tonight. It's a new moon tonight. And with low humidity, clear sky, and maybe a little bit of a chill in the air, but yeah, it's a good night to maybe bust out the telescope. A couple of good planets to check out, especially Jupiter. At this time of the year, Jupiter's kind of the star of the show. It rises just before 10 p.m., big and bright in the eastern sky throughout the evening at this time of the year. Saturn and Venus are early morning stars at this time of the year. Mercury, not really visible, and Mars is a very early evening star. By the time most of you are watching this, the planet Mars will have set. All right, Lee is still a hurricane. Category 1, winds around the eye, 85 miles an hour, gusts to 105. Look at the forward speed. It's finally picking up speed, north at 15 miles per hour. Not much has changed with the overall thinking with Lee. We're expecting a landfall around Nova Scotia Saturday, perhaps as a low-end hurricane or a higher-end tropical storm. Even though the center of Lee will be over here, there'll still be some gusty winds over here near Boston and Portland, Maine, Martha's Vineyard, Nantucket, Cape Cod, high swells and some rain and some wind, and it's going to be no fun for a little while, but direct impacts are not expected at this time. Back here at home, I think it's, week 4 of high school football, and we're going to make it 4 out of 4. Really great Fridays for football, weather-wise. A little cooler than last week this week. Middle 60s at kickoff, but middle 50s by the end of our games. Jacket for most of us needed, maybe a hoodie for the evening. High pressure just drifts around on Friday, and despite the chill in the air tomorrow morning, it's hard to ask for a much better day than tomorrow. Fewer clouds than today, and just a picture-perfect afternoon with temperatures getting into the 70s. That high will keep us high and dry. Even though it kind of fades away, we stay high and dry through Saturday. Our next weather maker is this cold front on Sunday, which might produce a couple of showers, particularly as we get towards midday and afternoon. Penguin Game Day forecast. We're back at home this weekend with Robert Morris coming to town. It's a traditional early afternoon kickoff at the Ice Castle with temperatures in the lower 70s. Going to be a great afternoon across the area on Saturday, despite a few fair weather clouds pushing in. And I showed you this map last evening, but yeah, the thinking really hasn't changed, I should say. As far as the longer range trends, looks pretty warm compared to the average in the last third of September. We're going to probably exceed 80 at least a couple of times later next week, and perhaps beyond that as well. Real quickly, some climate news. It was revealed today that August was the warmest on record, no surprise, for the globe as a whole. And for the globe as a whole, June, July, and August, also the warmest on record. That, of course, is summer in the northern hemisphere and winter in the southern hemisphere. Now, June, July, and August this summer compared to the previous 3 summers, here's what the map looks like. It was a cooler summer compared to a lot of the last few in a lot of the Midwest and in our area as well. Now, the anomalies were not as impressive here locally as they were in places like Minneapolis, but it still was a Not bad of a summer at all, temperature-wise, compared to some of the hotter summers we've had of late. You can see that's kind of an exception, though, across our hemisphere. It was definitely a warmer summer across eastern Canada, across the southwestern U.S., across a lot of the northern territories. Europe had a little bit of a cooler summer, especially northern Europe, compared to the last few summers. But overall, of course, the trends have been really, really warm, not only in the atmosphere, but in the oceans as well. And I think those ocean water temperatures are playing a big role in what's going on with the tropical activity in the Atlantic Ocean especially. And I think those elevated ocean temperatures, including the El Nino region, of course, in the Pacific, they'll have a big role into the winter forecast coming up this winter. We'll do our winter forecast either at the end of October or beginning of November. I know some winter forecasts are available already, Farmer's Almanac and whatnot, but we release ours. Usually it's around Halloween, give or take a couple of days. And that forecast will be for meteorological winter, December, January, and February. We had a lousy forecast last winter, as did everybody else. We're hoping to do a little bit better this winter. In the meantime, thanks for watching on this Thursday evening. I will see you back here on Monday for a fresh edition of the Valley's most in-depth weather forecast.